which we are dealing with today. I give you the floor. We are dealing with case IT 9514 the prosecutor of the tribunal against Dario Tihomir Blaškić. Thank you. Turning to the prosecution, would you please identify yourselves, please?
I am Erik Östberg. I appear as a senior trial attorney with my co-counsel, Mr. Gregory Kehoe, and our legal assistants, Ms. Sama Payaman and Mr. William Smith.
Merci, Monsieur le Procureur.
Thank you. Defense Counsel, represented by?
Mr. President, my name is Zvonimir Hodak. I'm the attorney at law of Mr. Blaškić, and my colleague Nela Pedisic is here together with me.
Hodak.
Mr. Hodak, I didn't quite get the name. Could you say it again, please?
Hodak with an H-O-D-A-K.
Merci.
I would first ask General Blaškić to rise and to introduce himself. Would you please rise, and would you please identify yourself with your name, your family name, first name, and the place of your birth?
Microphone, please. Your Honor, I'm General Tihomir Blaškić. I was born on the 2nd of November 1960 in the place called Kiseljak in the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
You may be seated. We are dealing here with the initial appearance of an accused person who has been indicted by the International Criminal Tribunal. I would like to recall to you, before we begin the hearing itself, Article 20 of this statute to ensure that the trial is fair and expeditious and that the proceedings are conducted in accordance with the rules of procedure and evidence, with full respect for the rights of the accused and due regard for the protection of victims and witnesses. Any person against whom an indictment has been confirmed shall, pursuant to an order or an arrest warrant of the International Tribunal, be taken into custody, immediately informed of the charges against him, and transferred to the International Tribunal. This is the purpose of this hearing. General Blaškić has been transferred to this tribunal. This trial chamber can have the indictment read, being ensured that the rights are respected, and asks the accused to plead guilty or not guilty, and then we'll set the date for the trial. The hearings are in public unless a decision has been taken to hold them in camera according to the rules of procedure and evidence. Therefore, I would like to now turn to Mr. Hodak and ask the first question. Has General Blaškić received a copy of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor. General Blaškić received the indictment, and he understands fully the charges that are set out in the indictment.
Thank you.
Bien.
The hearing should include the complete reading of the indictment. I would like to ask General Blaškić to confirm what his counsel has just said, that is, he received the indictment, that the indictment was read to him in a language which he understands, and now I ask whether he would like this indictment to be reread in front of the court. Please rise and tell us whether you have understood the questions that I've just asked you.
Your Honor, I understand fully your question. Yes, I did receive the indictment. I understand fully the text of the indictment. And I think that it should be read once more.
Alors, Général Blaškić.
General Blaskic, you have expressed the wish to have the indictment read. Therefore, I will ask the registrar to read the entire indictment in the version which was confirmed at the request of the prosecution. I give the floor to the registrar. General Blaskic, you may be seated. The prosecutor of the tribunal against Gario Kordic, Teofil, also known as Tiomir Blaškić, Mario Čerkes, Ivica Šantić, Pero Skopljak, and Zlatko Aleksovsky. Indictment. Richard J. Goldstone, prosecutor of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, pursuant to his authority under Article 18 of the Statute of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, the statute of the tribunal charges that 1. Serious violations of international humanitarian law took place during the period of May 1992 to May 1993, when the armed forces of the Croatian Defence Council, hereafter referred to as the HVO, of the Croatian community of Herzegovina, hereafter referred to as HZHB, attacked the Muslim civilian population in the towns, villages, and hamlets of the Lasva Valley in central Bosnia, generally and specifically in the municipalities of Vitez and Busovaca, and the civilian population of the nearby city of Zenica in the territory of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The accused. Dario Kordic was born on 14 December 1960 in Sarajevo in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. From at least 1991 until the present, he has been an active and influential member of the Bosnian Croat political party, named the Croatian Democratic Union of Bosnia and Herzegovina, hereafter referred to as HDZBIH. From at least 22 September 1992 until the present, he has been vice president and a member of the presidency of HZHB, and from on or about 10 July 1994, he has been chairman of the HDZBIH. Teofil Blaškić, son of Ivo, was born on 2 November 1960 in the village of Brestovsko, municipality of Kislac, in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. He is a career military officer who graduated from the Military Academy in Belgrade in 1983 and formerly served as a captain in the Yugoslav People's Army, JNA. At all times material to this indictment, he held the rank of colonel and was the commander of the Central Bosnia Operative Zone of the HVO. Since about August 1993, he has held the rank of general and is the chief of staff of the HVO with his headquarters in Mostar. 4. Mario Čerkes, son of Tugomir, was born on 27 March 1959 in the village of Rijeka, municipality of Vitez, in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. His official personal identification number is 27039591936112. In 1992, during the formation of the HVO forces in Vitez, he became the commander of the HVO brigade stationed in the municipality of Vitez. He held that position until at least the end of May 1993, and during the HDZBIH HVO takeover of the municipal functions within Vitez municipality. He is currently residing in Vitez. Ivan Šantić, son of Stipe, was born in 1942 and is married to Marika. He is a chemical engineer and was formerly the technical manager in the Sintovit factory in Vitez. He was mayor of the municipality of Vitez from at least May 1992 and at all times material to this indictment. He held this position during the HDZBIH HVO takeover of the municipal functions within the Vitez municipality. He is currently residing in Vitez. Pero Skopljak, son of Ante, was born on 4 June 1943 in Vitez, in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. His official personal identification number is 04069431936110, and he was a graduate of the Faculty of Theology of the Roman Catholic Church. He was the former president of the Executive Committee of Vitez HDZBIH Electoral Assembly and chief of police at the Public Security Station of Vitez Municipality in central Bosnia from at least October 1992 to May 1993. He is now an official in the office of the Vice President of HZHB. Zlato Aleksovsky, son of Tali and Eva, née Stanko, was born on 8 January 1960 in Pakrac municipality in the Republic of Croatia. He completed studies at the Veljko Vlahovic Faculty of Political Sciences, Department of Sociology in Sarajevo on 28 September 1983. From 23 February 1987, he was employed as a counselor at the Zenica Correction House until on or about 29 January 1993, when he left to become commander of the prison facility in Kaunik, near Buzovaca. After May 1993, he left Kaunik to become the head of the district HVO Heliodrome prison in Mostar, which was also under the administration of HZHB. Superior authority. Dario Kordic was elected president of the HDZ-BIH party in the municipality of Buzovaca in 1991. This party was the main Bosnian Croat political party in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. On 18 November 1991, he participated in the formation of HZHB and was a signatory to the decision establishing HZHB in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. That Bosnian Croat political entity was proclaimed by the HDZ-BIH to include the municipalities of Travic, Vitez, Novi Travnik, Buzovaca, and Kiziljac. By at least 10 May 1992, Kordic became the vice president of the HVO in HZHB. By at least 22 May 1992, he became one of two vice presidents of HZHB and remained so at all times, material to this indictment. Dario Kordic was, by virtue of his position as a vice president of HZHB, also a member of the presidency, being the legislative body of HZHB, according to Article 7 of the decision on founding the Croatian community of Herzegovina, dated 3 July 1992. Its presidency consists of the president, two vice presidents, and the secretary. Dario Kordic, by virtue of holding various political functions from time to time, culminating in his positions as vice president of HZHB and the HVO, and by virtue of his political power base in central Bosnia, exerted power, influence, and control over the political and strategic aims and operations of the HVO in the Central Bosnia Operative Zone, one of the 4 HVO military operative zones within HZHB, at all times material to this indictment. Dario Kordic demonstrated power, influence, authority, and control on numerous occasions and in numerous ways, including, but not limited to, negotiating ceasefire agreements, issuing orders that were directly or indirectly of a military nature, representing himself as an HVO colonel, dressing in an HVO uniform, having a military operations room in his office in Buzovaca, countermanding ceasefire agreements when the terms were not suitable to him, issuing orders for the arrest or release of influential Muslims held prisoner by the HVO, and negotiating the passage of relief convoys or United Nations vehicles through checkpoints in central Bosnia. Teofil Blaškić, since the establishment of the HVO on 8 April 1992, was instrumental in the implementation of the structure and functioning of the HVO in the Central Bosnia Operative Zone. From at least May 1992, he was a colonel in the HVO and the commander of the Central Bosnia Operative Zone, and remained so at all times, material to this indictment. Teofil Blaškić's authority and duties as a commander are set forth in the decree on the armed forces of the Croatian community of Herzegovina, dated 17 October 1992. That decree provides, inter alia, that he is responsible for the combat readiness of the troops under his command, the mobilization of the armed forces and police units, and the authority to appoint commanders. Teofil Blaškić has demonstrated or exercised his control in military matters in a variety of ways, including, but not limited to, negotiating ceasefire agreements, negotiating with United Nations officials, establishing the organizational structures of the armed forces of the HVO, appointing and relieving military commanders, deploying troops, artillery, and other units under his command, issuing orders to municipal HVO headquarters, acting as a liaison with senior Croatian army officials and controlling external military units operating within his area of command. Mario Cherkes, from at least August 1992, was the commander of the HVO brigade situated in the municipality of Vitez, and remained so at all times, material to this indictment. His position within the HVO meant he came under the command of Teofil Blaškić, the HVO Central Bosnia Operative Zone commander at the time. The Viteška Brigade headquarters was situated in the Hotel Vitez, the same building as Blaškić's headquarters. Mario Cherkes's authority and duties as a commander are set forth in the Decree on the Armed Forces of the Croatian Community of Herzegovina, dated 17 October 1992, which provides, inter alia, that he is responsible for the combat readiness of the troops under his command, the mobilization of the armed forces and police units, and the authority to appoint commanders. Mario Cherkes has demonstrated or exercised his control in military matters in a variety of ways, including but not limited to negotiating ceasefire agreements with opposing civil and military figures from within the Muslim community, negotiating with United Nations officials, appointing military commanders, issuing orders to deploy troops and other units under his command, and controlling the detention and treatment of detained civilians during times of military conflict. Ivan Šančić was the mayor of the municipality of Vitez from at least May 1992 until May 1993. He represented the Bosnian Croat population of Vitez within the HDZ-BIH. By virtue of his political and official position, he exerted considerable power, influence, authority, and control over the political and military aims of the HVO in the municipality of Vitez. Ivan Šančić has demonstrated or exercised his control over civil and military matters within the Vitez municipality in a variety of ways, including, but not limited to, negotiating ceasefire agreements with opposing civil and military figures from within the Muslim community, negotiating with United Nations officials, controlling the municipal and governmental functions within Vitez municipality, and controlling the detention and treatment of detained civilians during times of military conflict. Pero Skopčak was the president of the HDZ-BIH Executive Committee for the municipality of Vitez. From at least October 1992 until May 1993, he was the chief of police in the municipality of Vitez. By virtue of his political and official position, he exerted power, influence, authority, and control over the political and strategic military aims of the HVO in the municipality of Vitez. Pero Skopčak has demonstrated or exercised his control over civil, police, and military matters within the municipality of Vitez in a variety of ways, including but not limited to negotiating ceasefire agreements with opposing civil and military figures from and within the Muslim community, negotiating with United Nations officials, controlling the municipal and governmental functions, and controlling the detention and treatment of detained civilians during times of military conflict. Zlatko Aleksovski was an official at the Zenica prison from 23 February 1987 until leaving to be the commander of the detention facility at Kaunik, near Buzovaca, on or about 29 January 1993. He was in charge of the Kaunik prison and was in a position of superiority to everyone else in the camp. As commander, he met International Committee of the Red Cross, hereafter referred to as the ICRC, and European Community Monitoring Mission, hereafter referred to as ECMM, officials, and provided them with lists of detained persons, and acknowledged his position of commander of the facility and his understanding of the Geneva Conventions in relation to the detention and treatment of prisoners in his charge. Zlatko Aleksovski has demonstrated or exercised his control over the detention facility of Kaunik prison in a variety of ways, including but not limited to formal meetings with ICRC and ECMM officials, accepting the custody of arrested persons by HVO units, allowing the unlawful interrogation of detained persons, and allowing them to be used for unlawful forced labor, such as digging trenches and human shields. General allegations. At all the times relevant to this indictment, a state of international armed conflict and partial occupation existed in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina in the territory of the former Yugoslavia. All acts or omissions herein set forth as grave breaches of the Geneva Conventions of 1949, hereafter known as grave breaches, recognized by Article 2 of the Statute of the Tribunal, occurred during that international armed conflict and partial occupation. In each paragraph charging crimes against humanity, a crime recognized by Article 5 of the Statute of the Tribunal, the alleged acts or omissions were part of a widespread, large-scale, or systematic attack directed against the civilian population, specifically the Bosnian Muslim population of the Lasva Valley region of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. All of the victims referred to in the charges contained in this indictment were, at all relevant times, persons protected by the Geneva Conventions of 1949. All of the accused in this indictment were required to abide by the mandate of the laws and customs governing the conduct of war, including the Geneva Conventions of 1949. The general allegations contained in paragraphs 8 through 22.5 are realleged and incorporated into each of the related charges set out below. Charges. Between 1 May 1992 and 31 May 1993, Bosnian Muslims were persecuted on political, racial, and religious grounds throughout the Lasva Valley area. Dario Kodic and Teofil Blaškić, during those times, and throughout the Lasva Valley area, did, by their acts and omissions, and in concert with others, commit a crime against humanity by persecuting Bosnian Muslims on political, racial, and religious grounds. They are criminally responsible for the murder and wounding of Muslim civilians or detainees, the attacking and bombarding of undefended towns, villages and dwellings, deliberate attacks on the civilian population, the unlawful destruction of businesses, homes, personal property, and livestock, the unlawful treatment of detainees. For extended periods of time, the plundering of homes and personal property, the transferring and forcing of civilians to move out of the Lasva Valley to predominantly Muslim-populated regions, and the commission of other inhumane acts. Persecution was carried out by one or more of the aforementioned means, some of which are more particularized below. In January and April 1993, HVO forces or their agents, under the direction and control of Dario Kodic and Teofil Blaškić, planned and executed a systematic campaign of bombarding, attacking, and destroying towns, villages, and hamlets in the Lasva Valley area, or parts thereof, whose inhabitants were predominantly Muslims. These communities and their Bosnian Muslim inhabitants were selected and targeted on political and racial grounds. The attacks on these communities were conducted by HVO forces, which in the Vitez municipality included members of the Viteška Brigade under the direction and control of Mario Širkec. The Bosnian Muslim communities that were attacked in the Lasva Valley had few or no Bosnia and Herzegovina army, hereafter referred to as ABIH, troops present in or near the community. Many of the attacks commenced early in the morning, when most of the inhabitants were in their homes and asleep. At least 100 defenseless Bosnian Muslim civilians, including women, children, the elderly, and the infirm, were killed, and many wounded or harmed in their homes, in their yards, while attempting to escape from the HVO attacks or bombardments, or after they had been detained by the HVO. In late April 1993, when ABIH forces were involved in a counteroffensive against the HVO in or near the Lasva Valley area, HVO forces or their agents, under the direction and control of Dario Kodic and Teofil Blaškić, bombarded civilians gathering in the central shopping area of Zenica resulting in the deaths, of at least 17 civilians and the wounding of many others. Between 1 January and at least 31 May 1993, in the municipalities of Busovac and Vitez, hundreds of Bosnian Muslim civilians that had not escaped from or been killed in the HVO attacks were systematically selected and rounded up on political, racial, or religious grounds by HVO forces or their agents under the direction and control of Dario Kordic and Teofil Blaškić. These Bosnian Muslim civilians, including the many wounded in the attacks, were taken and detained by HVO forces or their agents, some of which included members of the Viteška Brigade, which was under the direction and control of Mario Čerkes. These civilians were interned, along with captured Muslim combatants, in detention facilities located at diverse locations in the Lasva Valley area. These facilities include, but are not limited to, the Vitez Cinema Complex, Kaunik Prison near Busovac, Vitez Veterinarian School, Dubravica Elementary School, and several Muslim homes in Gačiće. These detention facilities were staffed, operated, or controlled by the HVO or their agents under the direction and control of Dario Kordic and Teofil Blaškić. The hundreds of Bosnian Muslim civilians described in paragraph 26 were detained in these facilities for various lengths of time on the basis of political, racial, and religious grounds until they were either killed, transferred, or forced to move to Muslim-dominated areas outside the Lasva Valley area, generally and specifically outside the municipalities of Vitez, Novi, Travnik, and Busovac. While detained, many of the Muslim civilians and captured Muslim combatants were subjected by the HVO or their agents, under the direction and control of Dario Kordic and Teofil Blaškić, to inhumane treatment, including being kept in cramped or overcrowded facilities, being provided with inadequate food or water, being provided with inadequate or no medical treatment for the infirm or wounded, being subjected to physical or psychological abuse and intimidation, being repeatedly forced to dig trenches for the HVO at numerous and diverse locations, at or near lines of confrontation between the HVO and the ABIH, thereby subjecting such detainees to mental and physical harm, being subjected to use as human shields at diverse locations in the Lasva Valley area in order to protect HVO military installations or troops from forces hostile to the HVO, and some being shot or beaten to death by the HVO. On 19 April 1993, Mario Čerkes, having previously controlled the arrest and detention of hundreds of Muslim civilians throughout his command of HVO units in Vitez, stated that the HVO would kill 2,200 Muslim civilians detained in Vitez unless pressure was put on the ABIH and civil authorities to stop the ABIH counteroffensive in the Vitez area. This threat was reaffirmed on 20 April 1993 by Pero Skopjak and Ivan Šančić, and they were thus able, through threats, intimidation, and coercion, to force the signing of a document beneficial to the interest of the HVO and potentially detrimental to the interests of the ABIH. Therefore, Mario Čerkes, Pero Skopjak, and Ivan Šančić allowed the continued detention of the Muslim civilian detainees who were under their care and control, the inhumane treatment of the detainees, the use of persons for forced labor digging trenches, and the use of detained persons as human shields. During such time of detention, some of them were murdered or otherwise killed. From January 1993 until at least the end of May 1993, Zlatko Aleksovski accepted hundreds of detained Bosnian Muslim civilians from the HVO or their agents into his custody at the detention facilities in Kaunik. The detainees were from a widespread area, including but not exclusive to Vitez and Busovac municipalities. Many of the detainees were under his control were subjected to inhumane treatment, including but not limited to excessive and cruel interrogation, physical and psychological harm, forced labor digging trenches, in hazardous circumstances, being used as human shields, and some were murdered or otherwise killed. Persecution throughout the Lasva Valley area involved the systematic and wanton destruction of Bosnian Muslim homes, personal property, livestock, and businesses by the HVO armed forces, police, and their agents or third parties with their acquiescence under the direction or control of Dario Kordic and Teofil Blaškić. Between 1992 October and the end of May 1993, Bosnian Muslim property was singled out on the basis of political, racial, and religious grounds and systematically destroyed, either before the hostilities commenced or during or after the HVO attacks on the Muslim civilian population in the Lasva Valley area. The effect of this unlawful, excessive, and wanton destruction of hundreds of Bosnian Muslim homes, personal property, and livestock, not justified by military necessity, was to ensure that the inhabitants who had not been killed could not or would not return to their homes and communities in the Lasva Valley area. The towns, villages, and hamlets, or Muslim portions thereof, where extensive destruction occurred include but are not limited to Town, Amici, April 1993, Busovaca, January 1993 to May 1993, Gačice, Kačuni, Launčari, Nadjoči, Očinići, Pirići, Putić, Čantići, Sivrino Selo, Stari Vitez, Večeriska, Donja, Večeriska, Vitez, all of them through the month of April 1993. Vitez, December 1992 to May 1993. Beginning in January 1993 and through to May 1993, HVO forces or their agents, under the direction and control of Dario Kordic and Teofil Blaškić, on the basis of political, racial, and religious grounds, unlawfully bombarded the central shopping area of Zenica and systematically attacked hundreds of undefended dwellings or buildings in numerous towns, villages, and hamlets in diverse locations in the Lasva Valley area that were owned, and many of which were occupied by Bosnian Muslim civilians and were of no military significance at the time of the attack or bombardment, in order to kill, terrorize, or demoralize the Bosnian Muslim population. These incidents resulted in hundreds of Bosnian Muslim civilian casualties in numerous locations, including but not limited to Amici, 16 April 1993, Busovaca, January 1993, 26 April 1993, Gačice, 20 April 1993, at 5:50 in the morning, Kačuni, January 1993, Lončari, 17 April 1993, Nadjoči, 16 April 1993, 5:30 a.m., Očinići, 19 April 1993, Pirići, 16 April 1993, 6 a.m., Putić, 16 April 1993, Čantići, 16 April 1993, 5:30 a.m., Sivrino Selo, 16 April 1993, Stari Vitez, 16 April 1993, 5:45 a.m., Večeriska, Donja Večeriska, 16 April 1993, 5:30 a.m., Vitez, 16 April 1993, 5:15 a.m., Zenica, 19 April 1993. All events described in paragraphs 23 to 33 were directed against Bosnian Muslim civilians on political, racial, and religious grounds. Individually and collectively, these actions were on such a large scale and widespread basis and implemented in such a systematic fashion that they have effectively destroyed or removed almost the entire Muslim civilian population from those areas of the Lasva Valley where the HVO and the Bosnian Croat administration has taken control. Counts a crime against humanity. Dario Kordic and Teofil Blaškić, between 1 May 1992 and 31 May 1993, individually and in concert with others, planned, instigated, ordered, or otherwise abetted and aided in the planning, preparation, or execution of the following crimes. A. Persecutions of Bosnian Muslims in the Lasva Valley area of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina on political, racial, and religious grounds. B. Bombardments and attacks which caused the deaths of over 100 Bosnian civilians in the Lasva Valley area and the city of Zenica in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. C. Inhumane acts against Bosnian civilians in the Lasva Valley area and civilians in the central shopping district of the city of Zenica in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Or, in the alternative, knew or had reason to know that subordinates were about to do the same or had done so, and failed to take the necessary and reasonable measures to prevent such acts or to punish the perpetrators thereof. By these acts and omissions, Dario Kurdic and Teofil Blaškić committed Count 1, a crime against humanity, as recognized by Articles 5H, persecution on political, racial, and religious grounds, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal, as described in paragraphs 23 to 34, which are incorporated in full herein. Count 2, a crime against humanity, as recognized by Articles 5A, murder, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal, as described in paragraphs 24 to 25, which are incorporated in full herein. Count 3, a crime against humanity, as recognized by Articles 5I, inhumane acts, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal, as described in paragraphs 23, 28 to 34, and all references to the wounding or harming of many Bosnian civilians, as set out in paragraphs 24 and 25, all of which are incorporated in full herein. Counts 4 through 7, grave breaches and violations of the laws or customs of war, willful killing and wounding of Bosnian Muslim civilians. Dario Kurdic, Teofil Blaškić, and Mario Čerkez, between 1 January and 31 May 1993, and as described in paragraphs 24-25 of this indictment, both of which are incorporated in full herein, individually and in concert with others, planned, instigated, ordered, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the murder over 100 civilians and the wounding of many others in the Lasva Valley area and in the city of Zenica in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and, or in the alternative, knew or had reason to know that subordinates were about to do the same or had done so, and failed to take the necessary and reasonable measures to prevent such acts or to punish the perpetrators thereof. By these acts and omissions, Dario Kurdic, Teofil Blaškić, and Mario Čerkez committed Count 4, a grave breach, as recognized by Articles 2A, willful killing, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 5, a grave breach, as recognized by Article 2C, willfully causing great suffering or serious injury to body or health, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 6, a violation of the laws or customs of war, as recognized by Articles 3, deliberate attack on the civilian population and individual civilians, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 7, a violation of the laws or customs of war, recognized by Article 3, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal, and Article 3.1a, murder of the Geneva Conventions of 1949. Counts 8 through 10, grave breaches and violations of the laws or customs of war, unlawful treatment of Bosnian Muslim detainees. Dario Kurdic, Teofil Blaškić, Mario Čerkez, Ivan Čančić, Pero Skopjak, and Zlatko Aleksovski between 1 January and 31 May 1993, and as otherwise described in paragraphs 23 and 26 through 31 of this indictment, all of which are incorporated in full herein, individually and in concert with others, planned, instigated, ordered, or otherwise abated and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the unlawful treatment of Bosnian Muslim detainees in the Lasva Valley area of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and, or in the alternative, knew or had reason to know that subordinates were about to do the same, or had done so, and failed to take the necessary and reasonable measures to prevent such acts or to punish the perpetrators thereof. By these acts and omissions, Dario Kordic, Teofil Blaškić, Mario Čerkes, Ivan Šančić, Pero Skopčak, and Zlatko Oleksovsky committed. Count 8, a grave breach as recognized by Articles 2b, inhumane treatment, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 9, a grave breach as recognized by Article 2c, willfully causing great suffering or serious injury to body or health. 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 10, a violation of the laws or customs of war, outrages upon the personal dignity as recognized by Article 3, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Counts 11 through 13, grave breach and violations of the laws or customs of war, attacks, bombardments, and destruction of civilian property. Dario Kordic, Teofil Blaškić, and Mario Čerkes, between 1 January and 31 May 1993, and otherwise as described in paragraphs 23, 25, and 32 through 33 of this indictment, all of which are incorporated in full herein, individually and in concert with others, planned, instigated, ordered, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the unlawful attacking, bombarding, and destruction of Muslim dwellings, businesses, buildings, personal property, and livestock in the Lasva Valley area of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and, or in the alternative, knew or had reason to know that subordinates were about to do the same or had done so, and failed to take the necessary and reasonable measures to prevent such acts or to punish the perpetrators thereof. By these acts and omissions, Dario Kordic, Teofil Blaškić, and Mario Čerkes committed. Count 11, a grave breach as recognized by Articles 2d, extensive destruction of property, 7.1 and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 12, a violation of the laws and customs of war, wanton destruction of dwellings or other installations that are used only by the civilian population, including places of religious worship, as recognized by Articles 3, 7.1, and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 13, a violation of the laws or customs of war, attacks on dwellings or other installations that are used only by the civilian population, including places of religious worship, as recognized by Articles 3, 7.1, and 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Signed, Richard J. Goldstone, Prosecutor. Thank you, Registrar. General Blaškić, would you rise, please, and state to the tribunal whether you plead guilty or not guilty, and if you do plead guilty or not guilty, to which of the counts that we have read to you?
Your Honor, I plead not guilty to all the...
I'm sorry, I was not getting the interpretation there.
Oui. Pardon. Excusez-moi. Alors, je redemande à la...
I'd like to ask General Blaškić again to state again, and to state whether he is pleading guilty or not guilty, and if he does plead guilty or not guilty for each of the counts. Now, if you do not mind, General Blaškić, would you please answer the question so that the tribunal, at least myself, with my headphones on now, can hear you.
Your Honor, with respect to all the charges of the indictment, I plead not guilty. I consider myself completely innocent.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
For the organization of our work, I now turn to the Defense Council. Sir, have you a statement to make, and then I will turn to the prosecution to ensure proper organization of our future deliberations. I would first like to know whether you intend to file either any applications or preliminary motions, and recall to you that according to the terms of this statute of the tribunal and the statute, the defense has 60 days, counting from this appearance, that is, until the 3rd of June 1996, to file, among other things, preliminary motions. Mr. Odac, I give you the floor to answer this question or to make any other statement which you deem useful or proper for the interests of your client, General Blaškić. You have the floor, sir.
Your Honor. First, I have a formal motion. I don't think it is very important. But Mr. Blaškić, my client.
Vous pouvez, la cabine là, cette fois-ci j'ai les écouteurs, mais je n'ai pas saisi toute l'interprétation. Vous pouvez...
I'm afraid I didn't hear everything. Could we please start this again?
Your Honor, I have an objection that is more of a formal character. Maybe it is not so important, but I think we should correct it. My defendant's name is Tihomir Blaškić and not Tihofil. I don't know where the name Tihofil came up. I would like you to call my defendant by his real name, Tihomir. At the same time, in accordance with the article...
Would you please spell the exact way it should be written, please? How is it spelled?
T-I-H-O-M-I-R.
Tihomir.
Tihomir. Have you noted that, prosecution? In any of the exchanges that you will now have with the defense, the tribunal has also noted that General Blaškić's first name is Tihomir. You may now go on.
In addition, in accordance with the rules 66A and B, I would request the prosecution to disclose the evidence that was used to prepare this indictment. In order to prepare the defense within this framework of 60 days, we would kindly ask the prosecutor's office to disclose the evidence in order to see whether it's a reliable or non-reliable evidence. Of course, we are ready to hand over to the OTP the evidence that we have at our disposal, or alibis, etc. But for us, given the character of the indictment, and since General Blaškić is charged as being responsible for the crimes committed, we would like to receive the evidence from the OTP. This would be everything on behalf of the defense for the time being. As soon as we will receive the supporting material, in accordance with the statute and the rules of procedure and evidence, we will continue with the motions or further requests. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I now turn to the prosecution and give the floor to the prosecution to make any statements which you consider proper and to answer the question asked through us having to do with the evidence which should be given to the defense. I now turn the floor over to you, prosecution.
Yes, we are under the obligation to make available to the defense as soon as practical after the initial appearance of the accused copies of the supporting materials, etc. As we all heard now through the reading of the indictment, another 5 persons are accused. This makes it necessary for us to redact the supporting material, not to disclose information on other accused than General Blaškić. We also have to redact the material to protect our witnesses who are named in this rather huge material. For that reason, Your Honor, I would, my office would, I think, need some weeks. And I suggest that we consider it today practical to do so within 1 month.
Monsieur le
Mr. Asperg, you need some time. Everybody understands this because the indictment does include other accused, and now we are talking about an exchange of evidence which must be protected. For that reason, would a nearer date be all right? For example, I was going to suggest the week of 22 or 26 April. Perhaps could we have a preparatory conference, a status conference, for the 24th of April? At that point, we could see where we are. I'm not saying that you will have transmitted all the documents, but at least together we could have a closed, an in-camera conference in order to see exactly where we are as to do with the documents that you've exchanged and those which the Defense Council could also have prepared for any possible preliminary motions he plans to file. Could this be agreed to by the defense and by the prosecutor? I'm not saying that you'll have transmitted everything, but perhaps you could have given us some of the proof.
Yes, I will. Can I have a second, Your Honor, to discuss this with my colleague?
Bien entendu.
Yes, of course.
Yes, we believe we can make some disclosures on this on this date you suggested, Your Honor, so we can disclose to the defense on the 24th of April at least some of the material, important parts even of the material. I would suggest, however, that we after that have we put forward a bit the status conference. We disclose to the defense on the latest of the 24th some material, and then maybe in the beginning of May we have a status conference to discuss and see if to select a date for the.
Écoutez, merci, Monsieur le Procureur.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. I'll turn to the defense now. This status of the case on the date of 24th of April, do you think that would be acceptable?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to thank you, Your Honor. Yes, we would like to start as soon as possible because of the position of our client, of our defendant. I would like to say also that my office is representing also all the other indictees from this indictment. The office of the prosecutor mentioned the sensibility of the documents, but you should bear in mind that the same attorney is representing all the accused. So sooner or later we will have to ask the OTP to disclose all the evidence, and for the time being they think that they shouldn't do it. I would like to draw your attention to the Rule 75A, by which we could arrange for some measures for the protection of the identities of victims and witnesses, but I would like to request the OTP to hand over as much evidence and supporting material for the 24th of April. Thank you.
Monsieur le Procureur, sur l'observation.
Well, Mr. Prosecutor, on the basis of this observation, to the effect that his firm would be representing all the other accused in the present indictment, and therefore, from this point of view, your comment would lose some of its strength. What is your answer?
No, under no obligation to disclose anything concerning the other accused until they appear before this tribunal, Your Honor.
Oui, c'est une.
Right. Well, this is an objection which the court finds quite relevant, even though you will be representing, as you've informed us today, or the other accused. It does not seem that it is possible in the present state of affairs and present state of the procedure with the physical presence of General Blaškić, it does not seem possible that we proceed in this way lightly concerning the other aspects of the evidence in the present indictment. However, this does incite me to ask that we move as quickly as possible concerning the person who is present, and I would ask that we not wait 2 months. Therefore, the court will decide that on the 24th of April at 4 p.m. Do you agree? Counsel, will you be free at that time?
Yes, there are no problems. We will be here on the 24th of April at 4 p.m. here. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Prosecutor, do you agree with this date?
I personally cannot be present at that date, but other counsel for me.
Le bureau du...
Could we possibly, Your Honor, bring it to the beginning of the week thereafter? I have an obligation to do things in Sweden during the week of between the 22 and up to the 25th.
Il est possible que
Well, it may be the case that the court will also have other obligations at that time, and since it is not possible to split the prosecutor's function, so I see that the 1 month lead time that you had suggested is lurking again. So I think that if you cannot give all the evidence, we must give a maximum and have an analysis of progress. Since the prosecutor's office cannot be divided, then one of his assistants will be present at 4 p.m. on the 24th of April. Perhaps we could ask that in order to facilitate the work concerning transmission of information, that we clearly record the particulars of Attorney Dack. Are you considered as the attorney for defense? Well, yes, Attorney Dack submitted a power of attorney on behalf of his client, so we have his particulars, and we would indeed like to organize, perhaps in more detailed fashion, the exchange of elements of evidence, but we have no problem in communicating with him. Well, thank you. I believe that we have reached the end of this hearing. I would like to consult my colleagues to determine whether they have additional questions to ask. No additional questions? Well, in that event, Attorney Dack, do you have any other comments?
No, thank you. No, thank you. That would be all.
Rendezvous.
Mr. Prosecutor, no other comments? Well, then, we will have an in-camera session on the 24th of April at 4 p.m. This session is adjourned.
Pour lever.